Good evening. What is up, gentlemen? It is SEC After Dark right here on Willis Digital Media, home of the Palmcast. Man, it's a great night. Wonderful, beautiful weather up here in Tennessee. But joining me, both in the state of Florida, probably enjoying even better weather than we're enjoying, which we had mid-80s and sunny today. It's Stephen Willis and Jeb Beecham. What's up, guys?
Oh, not a lot. We're Friday getting my annual pass. Saturday is Ole Miss annual, and Bama and Georgia and Arkansas. So right now I'm in a pretty good place.
Absolutely. I know you're jacked up. Jeb, what's up, man? What's up with you? How's life?
It's going pretty good now. I got my house down here. I've been working on trying to get a set up so I can move in. We're actually starting to hit the goal line. I think we're getting really close to the end here. We'll say in the red zone. There you go.
Yeah, in the red. There you go. So have you been? Have you got your TV set up? You got HGTV, and you just hit play and pause, and just like go, second by second, step by step on the tutorials, on those home shows.
I'm ready for that, but it's going to be probably another week or two before I get that actually set up.
There you go, man. Well, the chat is blazing. Yeah, I upgraded to. No, I did not upgrade to Windows 2000. That's even weaker than Windows 95. Yeah. I might be on Windows 7 tonight, actually.
Ooh.
At this point, this is. I tried something even more different tonight with my web browser. So I will knock on some wood because it seems to be working at this moment.
He upgraded his web browser to Netscape.
Yep, that's right. I asked Jeeves and he delivered. So the chat is blazing. Our associate producer Jake Thomas is in the house, come blazing in with the jokes, man. Love it. Love our chat. We had a really nice chat going on Beast of the East. I'm not sure about Best of the West. I got my podcast schedule so loaded down that I have a hard time jumping over into these live shows, but I do catch them. Tweets After Dark, you can see that right down below me. All of our social information is also below all of us here. You can see the rundown as well. Hit that bell, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook. You can find my other shows, Believe in Dogs. Follow that one. I do that with Israel Troop once a week. We record typically on Thursdays. We've been recording on Tuesdays lately, but we're back to a Thursday this week. So lots of things going on. Of course, Beast of the East as well. You can find me there. And, of course, right here on SEC After Dark. Got an action-packed show, man. I'm excited about it. Week 4 was a really fun week of college football. I think we learned a lot about a lot of teams, not just in the SEC but around the country. But we have really learned that Sam Pittman, he wants to turn the damn jukebox on, and he has actually won the Texas State Championship this past weekend. They taking down Texas A&M in what was a masterful game, jumped out to a 17-point lead, and just controlled it the rest of the way, guys. Was it as much fun for y'all as it was for me to see that?
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
It was actually an exciting week. You're right. I couldn't believe that game.
And then your Vols, man, coming. They're an injury away from making that a really interesting game.
It was not nearly as bad as it looked in the end there from the score. Honestly,
no, it wasn't.
It's one of the few games I've watched in a while where I thought, well, at least we didn't really get out coached. That honestly was just players just not executing, and then those injuries just piling up. I mean, I don't think we would have beat Florida, but we could have given that a really good game.
Those things get interesting. And Hendon Hooker, he found something, and I think they found the right quarterback. Somebody I thought they probably should have went with from the jump. But how about Bowling Green just annihilating Minnesota? By the way, speaking of Tennessee,
yeah, that definitely makes you feel a little better, especially with the loss to Pittsburgh, and they don't look that bad. We beat Bowling Green; they look pretty good. It's honestly, I think we're in a better place than a lot of our fans seem to think we are.
And just a side note, Bowling Green only won that game 14-10. But anytime Bowling Green beats you, that is an annihilation. So keep that in mind. But
yeah, maybe Minnesota should upgrade to a motorboat.
There you go. Those paddles ain't working, man. They ain't getting there. Which is odd because they just came off a 30-0 road thrashing of the Colorado Buffaloes. So I don't know what that speaks more volumes for, how bad Colorado is, or just how up and down and Jekyll and Hyde Minnesota is, which I guess you could probably say both of those things are true.
I think it says that Texas A&M is in trouble over the next couple of weeks. I think that's what that says.
That's exactly what it says.
Yeah.
They're gonna. They're in danger of really finishing towards the bottom of the West. I mean, they're not. I mean, God Almighty, like they eked out some wins, but they got a lot of weaknesses that are about to get exposed over this next run of their schedule. And if I'm an A&M fan, I'm worried about that. But if I'm a Bama fan, do I worry about this week? We will talk about that in a little while. And never in a million years would I have thought, if you asked me, that Arkansas and Georgia would be a top 10 matchup. But it is, and we'll get to that here in a little bit as well. But anything that stood out to you guys from week one, Steve? I know you and I really kind of dove into it on Beast of the East. Missouri, I just think they're very underwhelming. They're good. They're not great. They're not horrible. BC's actually a pretty good team, but just for them, they just got to figure out, like when they get ahead on a team, they've got to really figure out how to close things out.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Missouri, their weakness that was exposed to by Boston College is actually Tennessee's strength. It's one of those things that if Hendon Hooker is the quarterback, I have no problem taking the Vols in that game. If they bring in Joe Milton and decide to be one-dimensional, all of a sudden they're going to stack the box. Because you guys see that meme today? I think Corey sent it to me. But Joe Milton threw a pass in Florida, and they just showed outside the stadium, and it just kept going and going.
Yeah, I sent that to you. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, it was so funny because it's absolutely true. Because as we say every week on this show, if you need a quarterback to throw the ball 40 yards, he will throw the ball 40 yards. If you need a quarterback to throw 30 yards, he will throw the ball 40 yards.
Yeah, and oh my God, man. Like you have a wide open guy in the end zone, and you just freaking launch it into the front row. I mean, come on, man. So that's got to take some heat off of Jim Harbaugh by that situation. I think that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin of Joe Milton starting at Tennessee. Kentucky, there's some concerns here with Kentucky. They have a big matchup this week against Florida. We'll dive into that some as well. But let's, I hadn't get a chance to talk about Auburn yet and the concerns that we have with them. In a game that we thought was just going to be just a bunch of against
and official help because he did not catch that ball.
Against, I'm sorry, Jeb, but the SEC killers apparently. I don't want any part of Georgia State. They come and beat you. They almost took down their second SEC team. TJ Finley came on, and I mean, I guess he couldn't be much worse than Bo Nix, so he looked better just in comparison. But I don't know if he's really the answer either. We'll find out, I guess. But man, it's crazy to think that they look really good against Penn State, competitive in a lot of areas. What do you guys make of it? I mean, that's kind of what I took from it.
I agree. I think Finley coming in and you saying that even him not being the quarterback, they still played so much better than they did when Bo Nix was in there. Has to make.
I think Harsin has any sort of ties to him, right, Steve?
No, I don't believe so at all. I think TJ Finley is a little bit more of a free thrower, and Bo Nix is a little bit of a scared thrower at this point. He's had so many problems going down the field. He's probably seen. I learned from that Auburn Penn State game is that Wisconsin and Penn State might be mediocre. That's what this game is telling me. Mm-hmm. I think we're overrating that triumvirate.
Yeah, I mean Wisconsin definitely. I mean, if you watch that game, I don't even taking that bet. But Penn State, I thought they were supposed to be a little bit better than they are. We'll find out here very, very soon once they get in the meat of the Big Ten schedule. But Auburn, man, they come off and put 6. I guess gave everybody false hope, and then they're exposed. So, but we'll see what TJ Finley has. We'll see if Brian Harsin pulls the trigger on that move, and it has to hurt some a little bit.
It's a travesty that they're still ranked.
Yeah,
an absolute travesty.
Purely off reputation.
Yeah, anybody else, they're not ranked.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not. It's ridiculous, but it's a weird college football world outside the SEC. I mean, you got a lot of teams that like Oklahoma are just awful. Um, they're to be ranked where they are, that's a travesty. They're ranked based on reputation too. They lost. They got outplayed by West Virginia and just out talented them enough to win.
Yeah, I think they're a top 20 team. And when I say that, I mean they should be ranked 18th. If they were 18th, nobody would have a problem with what's going on. You have a problem with them being 4, 5, or 6 or wherever they're hitting in the AP poll. They're starting to drop a little bit, but I mean they're just not there. And you know what? Right now, I would take Texas over them next week in the Red River Shootout.
I mean, it's not a stretch, man. I mean, Texas is not any stretch of the imagination back, but I think they're playing better right now than Oklahoma is, and Iowa State is going to make a bunch of noise. They've been bad all year. They've been squeaking by some games, and they got knocked off. They got ran out of the building by Baylor, they were getting ready to fire Dave Aranda because Dave Aranda, I still don't think he's a head coach. I still don't look at him as a head coach. He's just not, and some people just aren't cut out for that. But Dave Aranda had some great defenses at LSU, great defensive coordinator. Just don't think it's a weird fit there at Baylor. But he had a good weekend this weekend, took down the Cyclones.
He's 4-0 in year 2. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I ought to start paying attention a little bit. But neither here nor there. Let's put a nice little bow on week 4. Let's focus on the issues at hand. We got 2 really big matchups, and some really interesting ones along the way. Let's start with Arkansas UGA. The Hogs roll into the Hogs stampede into Athens, the 8th ranked team in the country. Georgia's still number 2 somehow. Right now, I think they're playing better than Bama. Sorry, Jake. But
don't forget Stacy. We got the whole Tide Talk podcast over in the chat.
Oh yeah, welcome, Stacy. At first when it popped up, I couldn't see Stacy's name there. It was at the top, and I can't really see the top. It has to go down a level. But as long as Georgia's ranked number 1 at the end of the season, I don't care when they're ranked number 1. It's as long as they finish the season number 1 and they're holding up that trophy. I don't really care how they get there. But when you look at Arkansas, I think when you look at this matchup, it's one that you have to worry about the physicality of Arkansas's front 7 defensively, their ability to get pressure on the passer, and JT Daniels' inability to move within the pocket. So, they have all these weapons, but if he doesn't have time to push the ball downfield or have time to get it out to his receivers, what does it matter if you have Darnell Washington, if you can't get the ball to him, if you're getting tattooed every play? So Georgia's protection is going to have to get shored up a little bit. They're moving people along on the offensive line, which is good in some cases and not so good in some cases when they don't have things settled. They're trying to get Broderick Jones at the left tackle spot, but it just hasn't taken yet because they want to move Jamari Sawyer down inside, but they just haven't gotten it. And yes, I do agree they can compete, and they don't have enough dudes, and that was kind of where I was going to get to. I think. I think that's something that you have to figure out how to gain that momentum, because what I really like about, Steve, you and I talked about Barry Odom's drop 8 defense. They play an aggressive style, but they also throw a lot of people in some passing lanes, and it's really disruptive. And they force teams to drive the ball on them, which a lot of teams aren't patient enough to do.
Yeah, in this game, one of the things that stands out to me is that Arkansas has some dudes. They can compete in this game. But if KJ is not around at 100%, if Treylon Burks is not around at 100%, this is a completely different game. And it's just a reminder of how thin they are offensively. Georgia doesn't have that problem. It feels like there's 100 5-stars on that field. And I do think that Georgia's going to try to bully ball a little bit. You're going to see tight splits going straight up the middle and everything going on like that. And Georgia will 5 yards at a time, 6 yards at a time, 4 yards at a time. They're willing to do that. They're not big play dependent like somebody, honestly, like Ole Miss is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you never know what you're going to get out of that. And protections have got to be shored up. But defensively, for the Dogs, they've got to figure out a way to bottle up KJ Jefferson. I reference in no way comparing KJ Jefferson to Russell Wilson, but when you look at style of play and you look at what you have to do against quarterbacks like that, you got to keep them bottled up, right? You can't let them get going running, and you can't let them dance around. You have to keep them bottled up, right? And we're seeing some smack talk over here by our Bama guys. Jake, the best win is UAB. No.
Best win's Clemson.
Best win's still Clemson. I don't think
still Clemson
right now.
Although you gotta like the irony here that going into week 5, thinking this game might be more of a contest than Clemson was, or a better barometer of where Georgia is.
It very well could be. I mean, that's insane to know that Arkansas is right there at that level. But when you look at Bama's wins, Bama's resume is not that much better. I mean, Miami's a travesty. I would venture to say that the mustard buzzards would give Miami a run for their money. Hell, Mercer might even slip up and take down Miami. I mean, that's not when you look at that, when you look at the quality wins. But we've been obliterating people. So
yeah, if you want to look at schedule, let's look at schedule real quick. Alabama played Miami. I would take Louisville over Miami at this point. Would y'all agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. Miami is terrible.
All right, Mercer and Austin Peay. I would take Austin Peay over Mercer. Correct.
Correct.
All right, Tulane or Southern Miss.
Tulane by a mile.
Florida, 5 more minutes in that game, Alabama loses the game. I'm not saying Ole Miss is going to win the game. I'm just saying that Alabama is very untested to this point.
Florida and Clemson are very similar in test against Georgia and Bama.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it like that. Alabama's win over Florida is way better than UGA's over Clemson. We sent Clemson into a downward spiral. We ruined DJ Ungulale. Just think about that.
That's pretty good. You got that pronunciation.
I know. I've been practicing. We ruined DJ Ungulale. That's what Jordan Davis and N'Kobe Dean and Nolan Smith and Adam Anderson, Devontae Wyatt. Can I keep going? Quay Walker. They ruin quarterbacks. That's their mission right now. They're just ruining quarterbacks. It is what it is. So hopefully this weekend they'll ruin KJ Jefferson. But you got to find a way to stop Treylon Burks. You got to you just got to be disruptive. I mean, Arkansas is not really going to get much. They're not really going to get much in the run game. So for Georgia, they just got to stop the RPOs. They got to stop the explosive plays, and they just got to get off the field when it's time to get off the field and clean up some of the penalties. To me, one of the best players, one of the most emerging players on this team is in the secondary, Keely Ringo. I'm really enjoying him and watching him play. So he's turning into a really, really nice cornerback there.
Corey, real quick, I'm going to jump in here real quick. We're going to do a little ACC after dark right now. Clemson.
Ooh, this is fun.
Yeah. Clemson, there's too much credit given to Trevor Lawrence for leaving. That this team is all because he left. The person that all that credit should go to is Travis Etienne. It turns out he was the guy that made this run. DJ threw for 400 yards in both of his starts last year. The offense looked fine. And it wasn't a problem. It was because he had Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne is going to go down as one of the most criminally underappreciated players in not just Clemson history, maybe college football history.
Yeah, and then you also have to factor in Amari Rodgers too. Amari Rodgers was that guy that was running across the field, intermediate routes, and catching and making people miss. And on 3rd and 15, he would get 17 yards and pick up the first down and move the chains, and then allow them to go deep over the top to guys like Justin Ross and T. Higgins and those players. But those two guys and losing Jackson Carman on the offensive line, their offensive line is horrendous.
Yeah, I agree, Stacy. By the way,
big problems, big problems. Yes, Stacy, you said it just as I was saying it, man. It's big problems on the offensive line, and they just can't protect, they can't block anybody, and it's ruining DJ Ungulale. It really is.
Yeah, our boy J-Boy from the J-Boy show Jake Crane talking about Paul Feinbaum this morning said the Clemson dynasty is over, and he was talking about recruiting and offensive linemen. If you recruit offensive linemen, it's a 2-year process. You don't just immediately go in and become good at offensive line. Offensive line is a sophomore, redshirt freshman type position. It's difficult to play. So the dynasty, if it continues to drop down, if it's like an 8-4 season, next year they can throw up a 7-5. They might get back to 9-3, but I don't think they'll ever get back to where they were. I think this is going to be a problem because it's going to affect their quarterback recruiting as well.
It's going to be very, very difficult, Jeb, to get to that point. They've got to figure out a way to figure out that offensive line position before it gets real, real bad. And no, Jake, I don't think Clemson's going to get killed by BC. But that game's not going to be easy. They could drop 2 in a row. That's for sure. That's very, very doable. I don't think BC's going to kill anybody, but
that Missouri game was fun though.
It was. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch, and BC's got a Vrabel on their team, so they're going to be good, right, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, as a Tennessee fan, I remember the years under Coach Dooley where he did not actually recruit offensive linemen. I guess just didn't believe in the position. It is very difficult to win, and it will destroy your program for a long time. Trying to repair that. So.
Mark Richt neglected that position for many, many years. That was probably his downfall, was neglecting the offensive line and having so many misses on the offensive line. It just wrecked the latter half of his career, and that was his downfall. So Kirby got that right, and look where we are.
Yeah. Going back to Clemson, I just can't get past Clemson at this point, even though this is SEC After Dark.
Yeah.
But
hold on, before you go, Florida State is a new level of suck.
Yeah, that's
they bring it to new heights, man. Florida State is awful.
Florida State is the poster child for there is no blue bloods movement. There are no blue bloods. Anytime your coach leaves, you can fall down almost immediately. All it takes is a Larry Coker, and your whole program can go down the tubes.
Ask the Canes. Ask Florida State when Jimbo left. It was brutal. I mean, Jimbo. I mean, it was starting down the hill there, but
Alabama that year kind of broke Florida State, and they have never recovered from that. Whenever they hurt that quarterback in the first game, it was all she wrote for Florida State. Jimbo knew he had to get out of here.
He's like, okay, I got no offensive line. I can't block these guys. My quarterback's going to die. Yeah, I mean, the Mike Shula era at Alabama, the Ray Goof era, the Ray Goof and Jim Donnan era at Georgia. That was fun.
Yeah, numerous coaches after Phil Fulmer.
The George O'Leary era at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
that was rough.
The Frank Solich and beyond era at Nebraska. There's just no such thing as a true blue blood. Now, there's probably places where you have the resources to where there's a little bit more margin for error than other places. But there's not many places that just are guaranteed wins. And I hate it for like Stacy and Jake and Cassie, what's going on. When Nick Saban leaves, it's going to be just like when Bear Bryant left.
It's going to be brutal for a little bit.
It's going to be brutal for a little bit. And you don't want to be the guy that replaces Saban. You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces Saban.
Yeah. And the transfer portal, Jeb, the transfer portal is also making it, is also very much equalizing it.
No,
Go ahead, Jeb. Go ahead, Jeb.
That was pretty brutal watching the transfer portal this last offseason.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, the little PTSD for a Tennessee fan.
Was it too soon? Yeah. Too soon. I'm sorry, Jeb. I'm sorry. You can ram your head through the wall. You're gonna patch it anyway, right? So,
at least most of them went to a team that's not playing up to their level right now. Oklahoma. Unfortunately, we lost somebody to Alabama, but what are you gonna do?
That is correct, Stacy, because Alabama does have the resources. They have a little bit more margin for error than some places.
And that was also farther back when the Blue Bloods did still exist. It's harder this time, I think.
Yeah, there was more like
there's a lot more.
Alabama had an advantage over teams just in the SEC much less they had an advantage over everybody else in the country because of their resources. Those resources, there's a law of diminishing returns. Once you hit $100 million, it doesn't really matter if you make $100 million or 120, or even Alabama when they make 180. It just doesn't matter because the other guys can afford to compete at that point. And it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. If they hire another Mike DuBose, another Dennis Franchione, another Mike Shula,
another Mike Price.
Yeah, it could break a little bit. It could break a little bit. Ask Nebraska about that. And I don't know if Nebraska will ever be back. I think Alabama will be back after Saban because they have the resources to do it. But there will be a natural lull.
There will be the coach after the coach. That's who gets him back. But it ain't going to be the guy that replaces Saban. That ain't going to happen. And getting Dabo Swinney is a pipe dream if you even want him at this point. But so, yeah, there you go. Well, why don't, all this Bama talk, why don't we just, let's compare these two teams, Ole Miss and Bama. They take part in this. Is a nice little Willis digital media rivalry we got going on here with Steve and Jake and Stacy. Let's intensify this smack talk, right? No to Dabo, all caps. Yes.
Yeah. Just to let you know, tomorrow night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, me and the guys from Tide Talk Podcast are going to be doing a live stream with the chat open, previewing the Ole Miss Alabama game for about an hour. So if you want to get some good Alabama Ole Miss information, this is the place to be.
Well, they're kind of here now. Do we want to make it? Do we make this a 5-shot? Let's do it.
I don't know if I could do that quickly.
my internet might break at that point.
Yeah, I was one of those things. But tomorrow night, tune in. They'll be here. They're in the chat right now. They can participate just like everybody. Yeah. But they're going to borrow this setup tomorrow night.
Okay, there you go. I'll lend you my box. Yeah. Who's taking my box? Is it Stacy or Jake?
I think Jake might be up there, and we'll put Stacy and Jebs.
Okay, Jake, you got some big shoes to fill. You got a big chair to fill here.
Also, if you guys see any tweets, send them my way. I will try and find them, and I'll put them. I'll do the tweets after dark thing set up as well for the Ole Miss Alabama game. So if you find any good stuff, let me know.
Yeah, we got some things rolling here. I don't really know what that says, but it looks pretty cool. But so yeah, Ole Miss, Bama. Let's we don't need your internet to break. LOL. Yeah, we don't. That's not good for anybody. So Ole Miss, Alabama. So to me, I think it's going to be shootout 2.0. But I think Ole Miss is going to come out on the better end of that this year, because I just don't think Alabama's offense at this moment has shown enough firepower to really keep up with an explosive offense like Ole Miss. If it gets into that track meet type of game. Now, if Alabama can somehow find a window to grind this game down a little bit, then they can get the upper hand, because they need to grind it down for probably half a quarter so that they can kind of gain that upper hand, and then it's just kind of, you're just nudging that finish line ahead for Ole Miss where they can't catch up. So if it gets into a track meet like last year's game, Ole Miss has got this one this year. But to me, Matt Corral is impressive. The offense is clicking a little bit better now, and the defense is playing a little bit better now as well. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how both of these defenses respond.
Yeah, and Adrian, just to let you know, Adrian asked how many points does Ole Miss need to win? They need 38 or more, in my opinion.
Stacy.
And also, can you see John Rice Plumlee running the ball some this week? Yes, I think there's a position where he plays more slot. I think that is where Lane Kiffin has been sandbagging. And Dontario Drummond will play the traditional tight end role. And those two will try and victimize the linebackers at Alabama and kind of recreate what they did a little bit last year with Elijah Moore and Kenny Yeboah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty nasty. I'm interested to see how they incorporate JRP into this game plan, and just kind of see how they use them and where they use them and things like that. I mean, I think when you have a dynamic slot weapon like that can do a lot of things. You have some double pass stuff that's available. You have some things that Plumlee can bring to the table that not typical slot receivers can. Um, and just the competitiveness of him and things like that. I think we're looking good in that department. So, when you got something like that to go with Eagley and to go with this run game, I think when you look at some of their option stuff that they do off jet that Lane really likes to do off the jet sweep. It opens up some things as well, some lanes inside, because those linebackers have got to respect the jet sweep. They've got to kind of stay home and they've got to slow scrape to it just in case it's a handoff there, or if it's quarterback keep with corral or some sort of RPO behind them. I mean, this offense is a nightmare on linebackers, and right now, to me, I think that the linebackers they look almost confused a little bit. They're super talented, but they're not playing like it because I just think they're playing flat-footed, and offenses have figured out a way to make those guys think and play a little bit slower.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this game to see like a Henry Toa. It could be a definite game. I don't know why that's not popping. There we go. Victimizing him. They attacked the mesh last week. Really pretty consistently against Southern Mississippi. Against the jet sweep, you might see an outside backer that takes a false step and that mesh is allowed to hit because of the jet sweep motion. And if you're moving forward to try and stop the run, you're going to have to worry about a little bit in that space between the linebackers and the safety of somebody like Dontario Drummond, John Rice Plumlee. That's going to be the Lane Kiffin thing. That's really the secret sauce of this offense as it is. But I'm expecting a really good game and a really good performance. And it may not mean anything, but Ole Miss all this week, they're acting like they know something.
Yeah, they are. And there's going to be a little gamesmanship with Lane Kiffin. And what I like about this, and I'll brag on Bama a little bit here in a minute, but I just think it's, for Ole Miss, I just think this is a game that, they're super hungry. This is setting up kind of like 2014 where, Ole Miss is playing really, really well. Bama is playing well, but there's some holes that you see. There's some noticeable things that you see with this Bama team that you wouldn't have seen last year, that wouldn't have emerged, in years like 2012 or 2017, where they had some of these rock solid defenses that didn't have hardly any weaknesses and couldn't be had. And but this year's Bama's team, I think, has some holes, and I think Ole Miss, the way they match up, those holes are going to be hard to plug, I guess, for lack of better terms.
No, I think you're completely right there. I think there's actually questions about Alabama this year that we just haven't seen in the past because all their teams have been so dominant. It's not huge questions, but definitely ones that Ole Miss has the ability to take advantage of if they don't get them short up. Now, Nick Saban being the coach he is, maybe they'll have it short up this week.
Nick Saban will figure it out. I mean, he's the best in the biz.
Yeah, you don't become the GOAT by accident. Bryce Young's a heck of a quarterback. The one thing is the first time you see this drop 8 defense, and you see it from all the teams, all the quarterbacks. Matt Corral last year threw 6 interceptions against Arkansas. If you try to force the ball downfield, which young quarterbacks do in college football, you're going to get yourself in a little bit of trouble. And I think Bryce Young has shown the ability to go through his progressions and do what he needs to do. But is he going to really swing the ball out to Jace McClelland or Brian Robinson 15 times against Ole Miss? Because you just don't want to force it downfield. Or you're going to try and take that shot for that big play to Javonte Williams, who has like 5 touchdowns of over 80 yards this year.
Yeah, Jameson Williams is God almighty. Yeah, he is. Good Lord, man.
Yeah.
When I say I want to brag, he is electric, man. He's going to make some big plays in special teams. And I think if Bama wants to win this game, and it sounds odd saying this about the number 1 team in the country, but I think if they really want to get the upper hand in this game and make this not really a game, they get Jamison Williams loose in special teams, or they hit a couple of these shots, and those type of things at home are just momentum grabbers. And if they can get a big play in special teams and hit a big shot over the top, and you get that crowd in a frenzy at Bryant Denny, that might be curtain for Ole Miss, unfortunately, and that's the way to do it. You have to have big hitters like that. If you try to drive the ball in Ole Miss and grind out all your points, and you get into a grind type track meet type game where you're grinding for points and Ole Miss is scoring fairly quickly, you're going to end up on the wrong. You can't track meet with Ole Miss. You have to pound them and hit big shots on them. You have to pound them and hit haymakers, and that's how Alabama's got to win. And does Bill O'Brien I'm just not sure about him yet, because it almost seems like it's very systemic with this play calls. It doesn't feel like there's really much game flow. There's not much feel when I watch him call plays, but they've got to figure out a way to be patient enough to get their shots, and then when they get their shots, they got to land them.
Yeah, Ole Miss way back, going back to Deuce McAllister and then Eli Manning in like 2002. There have been games when Ole Miss has gone over to Tuscaloosa and lost the game before kickoff. I did my podcast today, the Palmcast today, was about we can't lose this game before kickoff. And that goes to over deference to the Alabama thing because they're great players. It's somebody where there's been multiple games where Ole Miss has kicked the ball deep, and whether it's Tyrone Prothro or David Palmer or some other elite athlete that Alabama has, just breaks their heart on special teams. And Jamison Williams is a guy that if Alabama has complete control of this game, Jamison Williams is going to be the guy. He would be like 2 touchdowns or something like that. Some big play over the top.
Yeah, I mean, the spread was built, Jeb, on Jamison Williams, honestly.
And just to answer Jake's questions, when we're saying what questions, it's kind of questions like Alabama getting gashed by Florida in the run game and then not being able to run the ball themselves. I know that's one game, and like I said, I think Nick Saban will find ways to shore that up, but Ole Miss is not nearly as one-dimensional as Florida is at that kind of thing. If they can gash you with the run game, which
not
they can,
even close,
they're going to also kill you in the passing game. You can't let them do that. So that's why I'm saying they have questions. They just need to shore some things. There's some things they've got to work on. Whereas in the past, you don't really see those holes. They're more like Georgia is now, where you just don't really see holes in their defense. Now you do kind of. But
yeah, I mean, Georgia's got holes in their defense. They're not exposed yet. Every team has holes, and yes.
Yeah, and understand this real quick, Corey. Sorry about this. Alabama's judged on 2019 and 2020 Alabama.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that Alabama. Any questions you have is based off of those teams. Everybody else is compared to Alabama. It's not fair for Alabama fans. It's not fair for what's going on, but it's just the standard that they've set over the last 10 years.
It is fair based on the standard they set. I mean, they set a big time standard. Is Jamison Williams enough to carry this offense? I don't think he is. They've got to have somebody else emerge.
Where's John Mechie? Maybe Stacy and Jake can do that. Where's John Mechie? He was supposed to be the guy going into the season, the Devontae Smith, the Jerry Jeudy of this group. And he's just quietly going about his business.
Yeah, he's being quietly productive. They've got to have somebody else emerge. I mean, Bryce Young is a developing quarterback. I really like Bryce Young a lot. He's got a lot of moxie. He's great. He does that stuff with Jay Boy, and he's got a lot of poise and a lot of moxie there too, and does a great job how he carries himself. And I think he's going to be another great quarterback. He's just not there yet. He just doesn't have enough snaps under his belt. And that could also in a game like this. I mean, this, you look at this game versus the Florida game. This game carries a lot more significance because it's a divisional game. So this is the first time Bryce Young has been in this type of environment, albeit he does have it at home, which is good for him. And I think he will play well. But, another question, Jake, is how does Bryce Young hold up in a game like this? Billingsley is one. He's going to emerge. Win. That's a question. When he's had attitude issues, that's toxic, man. When is that going to emerge?
The tight end Latu? I really like that player.
Oh, he's good.
He's that
I like him.
He's somebody that watching and talking about Bryce Young. He's a freshman or a sophomore now, but Bryce Young is a junior. Yeah, Bryce Young is a junior. Is the Bryce Young I want to see because that just normal progression. He has a chance to be really, really special.
I think he has a chance to be better than the other three in the NFL right now. He has that type of potential. But right now, it is just potential.
Yeah,
so
he needs to put on a little weight. He is very slight. Right now, the NFL would kill him.
Yeah, it is just potential at this moment. But how does he do in that atmosphere? I don't know. Like, he could get out there and throw 5 touchdowns, and this is a 41-3 laugher. Who knows? Or he could get out there, get rattled, throw three pick sixes, one a pick six, and here we go in a track meet.
Whoa! He's not Jamie Howard. Let's back that up a little bit.
Jamie Howard.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
That's a very deep cut. Holy cow! Yeah. So who knows? I'm giving you guys questions. I'm giving you from our perspective what we see out of Alabama. You guys can answer those questions. Answer them tomorrow night. And tune in. But yeah, I think when you look at Bama, that's what I see, and I don't see the creative play calling that fully takes advantage of Mechie out of Bill O'Brien like you see with Sark, or like you even saw with Lane when he was the offensive coordinator at Bama. You just don't see that type of thing. Like you just don't see the creative use of Billingsley. Sark was able to make those guys into who they are because he was creative in how they used them. Why? Because he knew what they were good at, and he knew how to put them in great positions. Right? He knew it. And I won't be there live. I'm going to catch that one on demand too because I'm recording Believe in Dogs as we preview Arkansas, Georgia. So I won't be there live and in person, but I will be there in spirit.
Yeah, and nobody's saying the outcome of the game is in doubt, or is Ole Miss is going to win the game definitely. No, we're just saying the outcome is in doubt, and Ole Miss has earned the right to find out if they are up to that Alabama standard.
Yep,
that's all we're saying.
Yeah, and I think right now, as it stands, and Bama could come out Saturday night and completely shut down this notion, and I know you guys hope that they do. And if they do, I will be right here. I will take my L. I think Ole Miss is up to that standard. Whether or not they finish the game is up to them. But I think as of right now, they are up to that standard.
Yeah, here, if Alabama wins back here, will be houndstooth after the game. Be Alabama, just totally Alabama.
Steve's gonna wear a Tua Tagovailoa jersey.
Oh my goodness, I love Tua. Tua is my favorite player in the NFL right now.
So Seriously. Your favorite player is a second string quarterback for the Dolphins?
I love Tua. I think that if you get the right coach in there to use him, if he was in Kansas City, he would be doing the same thing that Patrick Mahomes was doing. I love Tua.
My favorite player right now is a Bama guy, so I can't say anything. Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Derrick Henry. Julio's been my guy, man. I'm a Falcons fan.
Yeah, you can't really be a fan of football and not be able to like Alabama guys in the NFL right now.
Nick Saban's coached half the league, so you just can't do it. I really like Marlon Humphrey up there in Baltimore. I think he's a great corner. Minkah Fitzpatrick is just. I'm glad he's not at Bama anymore. He's doing his thing with the Steelers. He is a great safety. I love Minkah. He kind of fits that Palomalu mold, that with his style of play. I like Mac Jones up there in New England. I think, my God, there's an it factor. I mean, he's not going to blow you away physically, but he
looks like Brady. He looks like Brady as a rookie. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
He's got some moxie. Yeah, there's a lot of Bama guys I like. So yeah, I'm not a Bama hater. I've never me personally. I've never had a reason to hate Bama. I've always, I've always appreciated what Nick Saban has done.
Jeb does.
Jeb has plenty of reason. See, I have all the reason in the world to hate Florida. I was actually rooting for Bama in that game. I was hoping Bama was going to put them away by 4 touchdowns against Florida. I was kind of disappointed in that, but Florida's Florida's that team for me.
For me, my rival's second rival, like after us, is Alabama, and they never win. So I always enjoy that. Like the 9-0 team from Mississippi State went down to Alabama and just got destroyed, and it was hilarious.
Oh, I remember that. It was like CBS game, and it just it's a laugher. But so Ole Miss Bama. I'll tell you my final say on that game. We've got to move on to some other games. I know we've been chopping it up. Tennessee Missouri. This one's for you, Jeb. I'm more on Tennessee right now than I am Missouri. I think Tennessee has a lot going for them, but also I think, Jeb, it depends on who starts at quarterback. Is Hendon Hooker healthy enough to start at quarterback? If he is, I'm taking the Vols here. But I think for Tennessee, I think both teams are in very similar places depth wise, and I think Tennessee plays a little bit better defensively. Alontae Taylor is tremendous. They're really good up front. Within the defensive line, I think they play well. They don't have any names that you're going to say, oh God, that guy's definitely playing on Sunday. But they play really well together. And to me, I think if Hooker is injured and can't go, I would say go with Harrison Bailey and see what you got there. I mean, you know what you got in Milton. Now let's see what you got in Bailey. What do you think?
I agree with that completely. I don't know what Coach Heupel really sees in Joe Milton, at least at this point. I can understand it first with his potential, trying to get him some playing time, but he has not progressed one step, I think, this entire season so far. I don't see why you would try that anymore. I hope Hooker's okay. Tennessee, their defense has actually played a lot better than I thought they were. They do very well in games until their offense just plays so badly that they're on the field constantly, and then it all kind of falls apart for them because they don't have the depth. And that's really a big problem with Tennessee is if Hooker's hurt, if they're all, Cooper Mays or any of their offensive linemen get hurt, they just don't have anybody to replace them. But they do well up to that point. I've actually been happy with Coach Heupel, which I'm surprised by. I think his play calling's been pretty good. I've not looked at anything and just said, oh, we're getting out coached in games. We just don't have the depth. But Missouri has not been strong at stopping the run. That is definitely Tennessee's strong suit is running. So I actually think they do have a good chance in this game.
Yeah, Tennessee's strength is Missouri's weakness. If Hendon Hooker can start and give them a passing game to go along with that, Corey, we talked about in boot camp the offense about the Ole Miss look. This is a running offense. This is a physical running offense, and first and foremost.
Yeah.
And media people are finally coming around to that, to understanding that. Like Ole Miss is 60% run. Josh Heupel's kind of from of that tree. He's not really one of the Baylor guys, but he kind of runs the same stuff that they do. And they just run the ball. I really like Evans, and I think he could expose the Missouri defense.
Yeah, I do too. Tyon Evans is really good. He's one of my favorites, and Jabari Small also is somebody that I really like and for that Tennessee team.
Yeah, they just need some passes to keep the defense honest. No, I agree. I think a lot of fans, when Coach Heupel got hired, were thinking it would be more like an air raid type offense, which it's not, at all. But
no, he just does tempo. I mean, he runs he is a run based offense. He just does it with tempo and RPO, and it makes it look like air raid, but it's really not.
Honestly, the massive amount of drops are the thing that's hurt Tennessee the most. Well, then the quarterback not being able to hit the side of a barn sometimes down the field. But definitely, if receivers would just catch the balls hitting them in the hands, man, that Florida game would have been a lot different with just a few catches.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I'm kind of bullish on Tennessee and kind of where they're going, the direction they're going. I don't think they're gonna do a lot of special things win-loss wise, but I do think they have a lot of momentum going for them. So, hats off to Heupel. I think he's done a tremendous job. So. Moving on from that, Jake Thomas's game of the week is not Ole Miss, Alabama. It is in fact UConn versus Vandy. Vandy somehow is 14-point favorites. I don't know that they would be 14-point favorites against Innsworth.
I was gonna say, how hard do you have to look around college football to find a team that they would be 14-point favorite? And
You don't. You go
UConn
to
would
high
be too
school.
much. Yeah,
So you know, UConn or UMass. I think either one of those schools would fit that bill.
Yeah.
But
Basically,
you know,
yeah.
this is a very winnable game for them. You know, honestly, I've been on the Ken Seals fan club, and unfortunately, I have to face the truth that Mike Wright might be the answer, the quarterback for them.
Systems matter. Systems matter.
Systems do matter. Ken Seals will probably hit the transfer portal. He'll have a nice career somewhere, but I just don't. It's just not working for him at Vandy, and you know, Mike Wright seems to be the guy there. It just seems like the pace of play, the everything's elevated with Mike Wright. I think they play a little bit harder. There wasn't much they were going to do against Georgia's defense, regardless of who was at quarterback. So you just take that game and throw it out. But I just think that this offense functions better under Mike Wright. They move the ball a little bit better against Georgia under Mike Wright. It just seems like everything clicks more. He's more chemistry with those guys, and he fits more into the system. So I think the more you get Mike Wright involved, they might cover this spread if he's the guy under center. They got some really nice receivers. I really like Cam Johnson. They're starting to develop a decent run game. They're starting to kind of get some things going, but they've got some offensive line recruiting to do if they're going to be relative terms, if they're going to be any good.
Was there a point they moved the ball against Georgia? I missed that.
It's 4 first downs, 8 touchdowns for Georgia. No, they did not move the ball.
They got their first down in the second quarter. There was like a very short period of time where they moved it when the twos were in.
They should have taken a picture of the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think that's like their highlight of the week was the first down they got.
Yeah.
So
Hey Jake, I am drinking a Land Shark beer because I am completely on brand and completely locked in for this weekend's game.
Well, I'm on the Coors Light because I just did not feel like going shopping, and this is what I had. So it's good.
yeah, I'm all my schedule's all locked down with football, so I haven't had a chance to make it to the store and buy me some cool looking beers. So I'm drinking Coca-Cola.
Red Label Coke Zero,
Yeah, love
the
it,
good
man.
stuff.
That's my jam right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing right there, man. That's where it's at. That and Sprite Zero, man. Holy cow! Like if you want to get 0-calorie beverages, those two and Sunkiss Zero is phenomenal.
Okay, I got to try Sunkiss Zero.
God, like if you like orange soda, if that's your type of thing, I'd love it, man. Normally I'm drinking a cocktail. I had a cocktail last week, and normally I'm drinking beer, but I'm just not. I'm tired, man. I've just been exhausted this week. We have a very our team at Hillwood, my high school team that I coach. We are like when I say young, like we have 4 seniors. 4 seniors.
Wow.
4. We have
Like Vandy
7
first
juniors.
downs for?
Yeah. We have 7 juniors. And the rest are freshmen and sophomores on a team of 45. Do the math.
Oh. So you guys are struggling this
And
year?
no. You could say that. we're 0-6 right now. And we scored 1 offensive touchdown.
Have you guys played Pearl Cone?
We got COVID canceled on that one.
Okay.
They would have probably put 100 on us. They're in our region, though.
Yeah, those guys are good.
We play Tullahoma this week. In 2 days.
At Pearl Cone's, isn't it the high school field that we used to play soccer at?
Pearl? No, that was Glencliff.
Glencliff, okay. Yeah.
We do play Glencliff. They're awful. That's our one. Hopefully our one win. Knock on wood.
Tullahoma was out close where I grew up. So
I hope
Glencliff
everybody's enjoying their Tennessee high school geography.
Glencliff has 17 players right now.
wow.
Ooh,
Yeah, they have
that
17
game
players.
might be a COVID game.
Could
Playing some Ironman football.
Could definitely playing some Ironman football there. So we're around TSSAA. We're at TSSAA after dark. That's what we are right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cassie says "Roll Tide" by Dixieland Delight, a song about Tennessee.
And she apparently drinks whiskey. I don't know what she
does.
drinks. I know Jeb has
Cass-
some Uncle Nearest in the house.
Cassidy, you're my girl. Whiskey, I love it. Jake, I'm not in the mountains of Georgia. I'm in downtown Nashville. I'm in West Nashville, where the internet sucks. News source for some shine. Don't we all, right? Speaking of moonshine and bourbon, Florida and Kentucky this weekend. Kentucky, a team that I'm vastly disappointed in. I still think they have it. I still think they have a chance to turn it around. There's some things that they can fix, but right now I'm just not on board with what they're doing at this moment. They are not taking care of the ball. They seem like completely out of sorts offensively, like they're just trying to do too much. Like your typical, we hired an NFL guy and he doesn't know the 20-hour rule and how to function within it. That's kind of what they're dealing with. So J-Boy put up his power rankings this week, and he still has Kentucky as number 2. I disagree with that. I still think they're number 3, but I just can't say they're better than Florida. Yes, they've been winning. I see that. But I just can't. Florida's 8.5-point favorites for a reason. Like, I'm surprised that line's not bigger. Kentucky cannot hang on to the ball. Their defense falters because of it, and they just can't get anything going. And then when they do, they stall out again. They're either sputtering, or their successes are very short-lived because they're like a freaking roller coaster right now, and they can't. They're just kind of out of sorts right now. And if they ever figure it out, they'll be pretty damn good. They've got some talent. And Wandale Robinson is having a tremendous year. But Will Levis God almighty. This guy likes to throw interceptions.
Kenny Trill.
Yeah, Kenny Trill.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on that all day because he's Kenny Trill this year. I mean, Kentucky's offense looks like a whole bunch like Terry Wilson's offense that he ran last year. And they're putting up the same type numbers. You have Wandale Robinson. It shouldn't happen, but it seems like it's happening, and that tells me that this might be something that Mark Stoops is doing. Kenny Trill was the quarterback at Texas A&M in 2013 or so. He was the guy that replaced Johnny Manziel, 2014. In South Carolina, he had one big game where he threw for 400 yards, ended up transferring to TCU.
And you never heard from him again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think for Kentucky, they've got a lot to fix. And Florida's just on a hot streak right now. Florida's playing really, really well. They played really well against Bama, and that's kind of their launching point of, hey, we're back. We're Florida. We don't suck. And you got to take that with a grain of salt. Obviously Alabama won that game, and obviously there's a portion of that game where I thought Alabama was going to run away with it. It was 21-3 at one point. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. I was getting excited because I was like, man, Florida's about to get their ass handed to them, and they didn't. They fought back. Emory Jones had a pretty nice game running, but Emory Jones is who he is. He's a running quarterback that if you give him time and you give him space and you give him open receivers, he does have the ability to hit them. But he also has the ability to spray the ball and miss. And he's very inaccurate and very inconsistent. You don't know when he's going to hit and when he's going to miss. So for Kentucky, if they want to win this game, which they're very capable of winning this game, I don't want this to sound like that I'm all Gators and just completely dogging Kentucky. I'm not buying Kentucky right now because they're struggling. I can't buy into a struggling team. But Florida is a team that they played above their head against Bama. And yes, Emory Jones is a very bad Lamar Jackson. Emory Jones is in the bottom of the SEC in all quarterback statistics. He's not really a quarterback, but they are. But
Emory Jones is Nick Fitzgerald. That's what he is.
Yeah, and Mullen's doing a great job of having the talent around him play above their head. Mm-hmm. Like that, they're winning games because of coaching. And when you look at that, that's kind of where they are. But eventually, Florida's right now is built on a house of cards, and that thing's gonna come tumbling down at some point, and it's gonna get ugly for Todd Grantham. and Dan Mullen. There's something. It's going to get ugly, right? And maybe it's this weekend. Maybe it's not until they play Georgia. Maybe it's somewhere in between. I don't know. Tennessee almost knocked it down. They haven't they didn't cover in any game except for the Bama game up until that point, against the upper echelon teams like South Florida and Florida Atlantic. So you look at this Florida team and they're not overly impressive either, but Kentucky is struggling. So I'll give you my final pick on that. But I think for Kentucky, what they need to do is they need to find Wan'Dale Robinson. They need to find a consistent pass game. Liam Cohen needs to get in the meeting room and pare down this offense and just find something they're good. Find a few things they're good at. And let's go. Find an identity and build on that. I think, and Steve, we talked about this a little bit. I think they're trying to. I think Liam Cohen and a lot of NFL teams do this because they can. They pay their guys millions of dollars to do it, and they have the time. NFL teams build this way and this way. So they build breadth and depth, right? They have a lot of concepts, and they go deep into those concepts because they can. And Liam Cohen is struggling with that. And right now, Kentucky's offense, look at me trying to do this. They're this, and they don't have a whole lot of that, so they don't have anything to lean on.
Yeah, and some of the plays like Liam Cohen would normally do whenever sequencing plays, he can't put it in. There's not enough time to do it. It's the Bill Callahan syndrome when he got to Nebraska 20 years ago after Frank Solich and put that in. It's just a problem with these West Coast guys going into college football, wanting to get their playbook that is that thick and expect everybody to know. And the reason it's that thick is because their concepts and whenever they're sequencing plays, they need them because it's all working together. It's not a simple offense. And if you look at like this move towards tempo and everything in college football, the offenses have gotten simpler in doing that. You count on the defense to make mistake through tempo, but the offenses are actually getting simpler. They're not going the way the West Coast offense.
And the communication piece, Jeb. I mean, you don't have that little magical microphone that speaks into the helmet where you can call these long plays. You got a signal. That's new to him too. So he's got some growing pains going on. I think ultimately he's a great coordinator, but he's just not fitting into college football very well.
Yeah, I think he was looking pretty good after the second week. And we thought and they played Missouri and aired it out, and it was looking great. I think now we've realized it was just Missouri wasn't that good. So they've definitely come down to earth the last couple of games. So run game's still good, which is still a weakness for Florida. So they have a chance here. But
you got some great pieces. They're just they can't take advantage of it because logistic stuff. Things beyond the playing field. Like if you just gave those guys some simple concepts and let them go play, they'd be pretty damn good.
Yeah,
but they're not. They're playing like a team that's confused and clunky and trying to they don't know what the hell they're doing, for lack of better terms.
Out-coaching themselves.
Real quick, Cassidy, the Vandy thing, I know you're making a joke and everything, but Vandy's in the conference and will continue to be in the conference because they are a shelter against the Freedom of Information Act. If it wasn't for Vanderbilt, you could, just as a genuine citizen, get any information about any team and all of the SEC's business through the FOIA process. Vandy's server is not susceptible to FOIA, so we need that Vandy server for the SEC to keep things under wraps. Yeah, the rest are public schools.
To keep things Sankey's doing and keep people from...
Yeah, everybody would have known Texas and Oklahoma was coming into the league if it wasn't for Vandy's service.
Absolutely. So last game we're going to really give a lot of attention to because I think this is the most difficult game to pick, which is Auburn-LSU. When you look at this matchup, I don't know what to expect. LSU is a team that's built on turmoil, that's got a lot of stuff bubbling under the surface beyond the playing field. They've got some nice pieces. Keon Butte is great. I really like Max Johnson at the quarterback position. They have some nice pieces on the defensive line, and they've got some nice things going for them. But there's so much turmoil with that program and Ed Orgeron, and things are going on that beyond football that you're not sure when it's going to pop. But right now they're playing okay. They toyed around with Mississippi State, who's pretty bad. So we don't really know what LSU is about. Same with Auburn. We don't really know what they're about. They have Tank Bigsby. Not all we know. So how do you pick this game? LSU's only 3.5-point favorites at home Saturday night and in Baton Rouge. Usually that's good for 7 points. So there's a problem there. And for me, it depends on who Auburn plays at quarterback, really. Like, if they start TJ Finley, I think I might buy into Auburn this week. But if they don't, if Bo Nix starts, I'm going to buy into LSU this week. And I'm probably going to make my pick based on who I think would start or who I think should start, and that's what I'm gonna go with. So how do you guys see this game? Is there any sort of clarity here?
No, and actually, I'm completely with you. This was the one pick I was looking at all of them. I kind of skipped over and just came back and thought about it a lot because I have no idea what to expect in this one. And I'm also agreeing with you. I think if I'm probably going with Auburn only because I think if they go with that backup quarterback, at least they'll be a little more consistent. I think they'll play a little better, and LSU might come out and play great and destroy them. Might come out and play terrible, and Auburn beats them. I just don't know a way to predict what's going to happen there. I'm going with Auburn just for the consistency they have.
Yeah,
unless they start Bo Nix, and then that's out the window.
Well, the one thing you got to remember about TJ Finley is his first start in that case would be in Tiger Stadium after transferring from LSU. That would be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster to go. He's probably the better option, but if they would have made that change in the Penn State game or wherever they was, then this probably wouldn't have happened. I'm expecting Bo Nix to start, but LSU is a young team. They've got some young pieces all over. They're trying to recreate the magic of 2019, and they just don't have a Jamar Chase. They don't have a Jordan Jefferson. They don't have a Thaddeus Moss. They don't have a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And because of that, people are kind of teeing off on what they're doing. But they're still pretty good. For instance, against Mississippi State, they kind of played with their food a little bit. And Mississippi State was able to come back and make it a little bit closer of a game than it actually was. I mean, it's a game that I probably like Auburn. It's one of those just give me the points maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. But you want to find out? Let's go to picks.
Let's do it.
We got picks.
Picks.
You need to isolate that, Steve, and make that our transition sound. All right. We go into picks. All right. Last week was a brutal week for a lot of us, unless your name is Jake. Steve went 4-6, bring his overall
losing
record,
money.
22-25. I went 5-5. Brings my overall record to 27-22. Jeb had a rough go, 3-7, 20-27 overall. Jake 8-2 brings his record to 27-20, still 2 games shy of me. Craig had a 5-5 week from the Beast to the East, 26-21. Stacy, you're not on this list. We have an extra column for you, so there you go.
Yeah, we'll put him in here.
So, Jeb, it's your turn to start this week. So we're gonna go Arkansas at Georgia. So we'll go Jeb, me, then Steve. Okay, so Arkansas at Georgia. Georgia's 18.5-point favorites. I'm not sure how, but I think this is a game where it's going to be tight for a little while, possibly. I don't know how it's going to play out. Jeb, why don't you tell me?
I was actually surprised with how many points Georgia was getting here. 18.5 seems like a very big margin, but honestly, I think Georgia's good enough to do that. I think that they are just because they have such a balanced defense and a good, offense is pretty much rolling. Arkansas, though, after last week, I mean, I have to admit, Arkansas is a legit good team. I think I was still a little unsure about them last week, which is why I didn't pick them. I don't want it to seem like that's the same way this week because I agree they're great. Well, they're very good, which I'm surprised by. But I think Georgia, like I said, I've said it for a while now, and I still believe that Georgia's the best team in the SEC right now. So I'm taking Georgia to cover that spread.
Yeah, Georgia's covered most of their spreads this year, except for the South Carolina backdoor cover. But so I'm going to take Georgia to cover this spread. That they're rolling, and they're a team that can certainly rack up a few touchdowns on you if you're not careful. And I think depth is going to take over in this game. I think Georgia has plenty of it, and Arkansas is not quite there yet on depth, but they do play hard. They're physical. It's going to be a cold tub type game. Steve.
Yeah, I like the dogs in this game. I think they're just going to be able to play bully ball a little bit with Arkansas and stretch out the lead, and all of a sudden the Arkansas dream will at least slow down before they head to Oxford next week. And Kevin, he did not give his picks on Best of the West because he wanted to wait an extra day and do that. He likes Arkansas, and Jake likes Arkansas. Both of those guys are on the Hogs. Although Kevin, that's a little bit of home cooking, I think.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. He believes in his team, and I can't fault him for that. So, Jeb, Tennessee at Missouri. What do you like?
Oh man, I want Tennessee to cover or to actually win so bad. I picked them last week, and I honestly think they could have covered against Florida. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot. I still think Florida would have won, but they could have covered. This week, Missouri has just not been very good. It's only 3-point spreads. I basically pick them. I'm going with Tennessee to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tennessee's trending up. Missouri's just kind of plateauing right now, and if you look at the quarterback battle, I think Bazelak is the better quarterback in this scenario. But I think the rest of the pieces that Tennessee has, I think, are better than Missouri's. Their depth's in the same place, as I said earlier. So I'm gonna take the Vols to win, to cover and possibly win. Steve.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Vols. I like Evans at running back. I saw him against Florida. If those guys would have been able to play more in the second half together, they would have probably put something together. They found stuff that was working. Then the injury happened and kind of took them out of what they wanted to do. Missouri had trouble stopping the run. If you have trouble stopping the run, Tennessee is not a team you want to see. I like the Vols.
All right. Brings us to I don't know, some game, Alabama, Ole Miss. I don't know if anybody really cares about this game, but Jake picked Mizzou, by the way. So when you look at Alabama, Ole Miss, Jeb, what do you think, man? What's your final verdict here?
I don't know how much of a game it'll be. College game day didn't even want to go there. I think no. I love Ole Miss's balanced offense. I think Ely is a very underrated running back. Matt Corral is, I hope, on the short list for the Heisman close to the end of the season, and this could be the game that kind of solidifies it for him. I am looking for Ole Miss to actually not only cover but win this game outright.
Steve, looks like you're picking Bama, right?
No, I'm going to take Ole Miss in this game. I think it was going to be one of the game, and I think it's going to resemble a little bit like the opposite of the 1969 Thriller that ended up 33-32, first primetime game on ABC. I think this game is going to be very special. And in doing so, I think we're going to be talking about this into next week, and Ole Miss and Arkansas might be a little bit of an issue because of how this game looks. I'm taking the Rebs.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rebs because I think no matter who wins, it's going to be tight. So anytime you have a tight ball game with two teams that are very, very similar matchup wise, this game was tight last year, and Alabama had probably the best team they've ever had in the entire existence of the school. So I'm going to take Ole Miss to, if they don't win, they're definitely going to cover. But I wouldn't be surprised if they outright won this one. So I'm taking the Rebs. And looks like
Jake picked Bama
taking,
by 20. Yeah.
Yeah, he picked. I was gonna say he picked the Rebs by 20, but a
little home cooking there, perhaps.
Yeah,
we'll get to the bottom of that tomorrow.
Your boy Kevin's picking Ole Miss.
Yeah.
My God, you might have to have a fight on Best of the West. No, our next game is Florida travels to Kentucky. They are 8.5-point road favorites. Jeb.
This was another tough one for me. I think Florida wins this game, but I don't know. Kentucky is a better chance of keeping it close than Tennessee did, but they have had turnover woes, like you said. So I think Florida will end up covering in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think Florida's going to win and cover. I think they win by 10. I just think Florida's in a better place right now than Kentucky is. So I'm going to
Yeah.
take the Gators.
Unanimous pick from everybody. Gators.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Next game is Steve's second favorite team and third favorite team. Mississippi State and Texas A&M. Mississippi State travels to College Station as 7-point underdogs to A&M. Jeb, what do you think, man?
Man, I really at the beginning of this season I thought A&M was going to be so good, and Mississippi State is a team that just keeps hanging around with teams that I think they're going to get beat bad by. So honestly, I'm not sure. Mississippi State I think will play like they do. They just seem to hang around in games this season, but I think A&M will get just enough to cover in this one, maybe win by 10-13.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Aggies cover. I think Jimbo Fisher is going to have his team ready to play this game. Mississippi State's not an easy out by any stretch, but I like the Aggies here.
Yeah, I'm nervous as hell about the Texas A&M quarterback situation. But if you look at the other 21 positions on the field, Texas A&M has the advantage. I'm going with the Aggies.
And you actually typed the "and" in Texas A&M.
Yeah.
It's good. Good for you. You and Jeb both. Jake's taking the Fighting Jimbos, and Kevin's also. So it's another unanimous selection there. Jake, you kind of broke the one on this one. UConn travels to Nashville to take on Vandy, who's 14.5-point favorites. That's impressive. Jeb?
There's almost no team, like I said, in football that I would take 14.5 points against Vandy, but UConn is one of those teams. UConn is just bad. So I think Vandy actually looks a lot more impressive this week. It's fool's gold. They're not, but they'll be more impressive than UConn. So I'm taking them to cover.
Yeah, UConn is like epically horrible.
Yeah.
I think their women's basketball team could suit up and beat them, which I love. Gino Ariema is one of the goats in the coaching profession, but maybe he needs to go coach football too. Vandy annihilates the Huskies.
Yeah, if it was ETSU on the other side, I would take ETSU. But UConn is statistically working towards the worst FBS team that ever existed. If you need a second to think about that, they are legitimately going towards the worst FBS or Division 1A team that has ever existed. And yeah, as much as people don't want to take Vandy, yeah, UConn I can't take. Hey, your high school team is better than UConn. That's the point, Jake.
Yep. So Jake, might want to rethink that.
Yeah, it's already locked in, buddy.
Yeah.
Just giving away that Bama game.
Can't change it. All right, Auburn LSU. We were confused on this, Jeb. What's your final verdict?
Yeah, I finally just ended up going with Auburn to win this game. I don't know. Like I said, Auburn I think will be a little more consistent, but LSU could have one of those weeks where they just come out and play great. You just never know. So I'm going to go with Auburn. But don't bet money on it.
I'm staying far away from this game, betting wise, but I do think Saturday night Baton Rouge will be enough to get LSU a 6-point win. So I'm gonna take the Bayou Bengals here. Why? I don't know. I don't know. It's Saturday night in Baton Rouge, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Auburn can
take an LSU.
Yeah, Auburn can run the ball. LSU can't. That I think will be an equalizer a bit. The line is only 3.5 points, so it's almost a straight up proposition. I think Auburn's going to win the game.
And Auburn by 24, says Jake. So or Stacy or whoever.
That's Colby. That's Colby.
Colby. Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Colby.
we got another one. Yeah, he wants to play too.
He chimes in. Auburn by 24. All right, Colby, pick this one. Troy at South Carolina. South Carolina is 7-point favorites here. Yeah, you're playing a G5 team. You're 7-point favorites at home. Not a great look, but South Carolina has no dudes. But I'll go ahead and say that this is unanimous selection. I don't think we really have to talk about this one. I think we're all on board with South Carolina to win and cover this game. They're playing hard. They literally have nothing. But they're playing above their heads right now for Shane Beamer, so he's doing something right. So let's talk about the next game. Texas comes into Dallas, 4.5-point favorites as they take on the Horned Frogs of TCU. Jeb.
And Texas has lost to Arkansas. Does not look so bad now. Arkansas is actually a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas has played really well outside of that. So I'm going with them. I think TCU had a rough time with SMU last week, so they just don't look nearly as impressive. I think Texas is getting it together. I'm definitely taking them to cover.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna take the Longhorns to cover as well. I just think they're playing really well, and they're playing really well in a weak conference where you don't know who's got what and who can do what. And the preseason rankings we did on the Legal Motion a Big 12 preview, and not a bit of that is coming true. And that's mostly due to how bad the Big 12 is right now. So, but Texas is a lone bright spot. Texas might win the freaking conference. I don't know, but Bijan Robinson is great, and it's a 4.5-point spread, so it's kind of harmless. Probably not going to put any actual money on this, but so I'm taking Texas. But that saying with a grain of salt, you should take 3 grains of salt with my pick there. Give me the Horns.
Yeah, and also I want to point out our chat room has just been absolutely fire tonight. We've received over 100 messages during this broadcast.
Nice.
So thank you very much.
Nice.
Yes,
We get a trophy.
That's
Put
the
a trophy
good
on your bookshelf back there.
Yeah, just sit here be like an Emmy or something. I don't know what's going on. But then for this game, yeah, Texas.
Yep, Texas. All right, and Jake picks Texas, and somebody said TCU may win. Is that Colby?
Yeah,
TCU may win. You really don't know with the Big 12. You really don't. Which brings us to our next game in the Big 12 Last Dance. The SEC teams in the Big 12. I love that we're including them already.
Yeah,
Oklahoma 10.5 points.
Wanted to have fun there.
Oklahoma 10.5-point favorites over K-State. Weird matchup, but 2 weird teams as well. Jeb.
Yeah, I haven't paid a lot of attention to Kansas State. I know they had a decent win over Stanford, but then they just lost this last weekend to the other Oklahoma State. So I think Oklahoma covers this one. Oklahoma's not as good as we thought, but they're still a good team. K-State's been fine, but I think Oklahoma can cover that. So I'm picking.
Here's the thing. If Skylar Thompson starts, which I don't think he will, then K-State would most definitely cover and maybe even win. But Skylar Thompson, they're a totally different team without Skylar Thompson. They look pretty bad and bland last week against Oklahoma State. I do think OU covers this. I do think they win by 2 touchdowns, which it's not a huge spread, so I do think Oklahoma can cover this. Luckily, they're on the road, so when they're booing Spencer Rattler, it really doesn't matter. So give me the Sooners.
Yeah, I like Oklahoma in this game just because they're due. They have to get somebody, right? Because they're way too talented. They don't look great. I think Colby Pittman said he's picking K-State because Oklahoma doesn't look great. When your home crowd boos your starting quarterback, it's not a good look. No, that's a terrible look. But I think this is the game because of the lack of Skylar Thompson that Oklahoma has a chance to get right. Remember last year, Spencer Rattler struggled to start the season and didn't really get right until the second half of the Texas game. They play Texas next week, so we'll see what's going. But it's going kind of the same way. And by the way, just want to point out to everybody that's watching, Matt Corral is what the media and all the analysts told us all offseason what Spencer Rattler was.
Mm-hmm. And we're finding out now. It's coming to fruition. So, K-State is tough at home. They really are, but they're decimated kind of. Like their injuries have really ravaged them. They're just not – their depth is depleted a little bit right now, and they're not the same K-State team they were against Stanford. And a lot of it's injuries, and a lot of it's just bad luck, I guess. So if they ever get Skylar Thompson back, they will be a really good team. I really like K-State. I'm rooting for K-State, but I just don't think they can. I just don't think they can win this game. So, but that's going to do it for us here on SEC After Dark. We appreciate the chat. It was as lit and fiery as possible. A lot of smack talk. Our guys from Tide Talk, Stacy and Jake Thomas, and also Jake from Best of the West. Thank you for that. Guy Caldwell, appreciate you jumping in. Colby, glad to have you. Make sure you're a regular here. Cassidy, drinking our whiskey, sipping, talking with us, and my internet holding up. Knock on wood. So, I'm really excited the direction of this program. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to continue to build this journey as we go, and we're going to get 200 comments in the next one, and beyond. So this channel's only growing. So get on board now, so that you say you were here in the beginning. I remember this time last year, we were just a picture on the screen. It was just a very bland looking logo that said around the SEC. And we were just kind of three voices that you had no idea who they were. Now look at us. We're actually turning into a brand. So get on board. If you're not, tell your friends, subscribe. Follow us on social media, which is right down there below. Follow those accounts right there. Check me out, Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast. I do that with Israel Troop. We are on Brinks TV over there on YouTube. Windows 8 is definitely my look. I might upgrade to Windows 10 if you're not careful. I might go to Mac OS next week. So,
whoa,
big things afoot.
We don't need that. Ain't nobody ready for that.
No, y'all ain't ready for that, man.
Uh-uh.
Y'all ain't ready for big time for prime time, Corey. Yeah. So, that's going to do it. Like I said, for us here on SEC After Dark, we are on the Willis Digital Media channel.
Real quick, Corey,
yes,
do me a favor, everybody that's in the chat and participate, and evangelize this show. We do this every Wednesday. We want people to come into the chat. We want people to participate. We want this to be your show. That's the reason we put the chat and make it visible. That's the reason we promote the tweets. So share it. Tune in next week. Bring a friend next week, and it'll be a lot of fun and be completely worth it. We talk about Ole Miss at Willis Digital Media on the Palmcast, but we also have divisional shows like Best of the West and Beast of the East to go with SEC After Dark. And tomorrow night, the rumble in the jungle between Jake Thomas and Stacy I forgot his name. Blackwood.
It's the tussle in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, tussle in Tuscaloosa and everything. Let's get it going. And have some fun, but we can have a nice live chat. Yeah, bring it, Jake. I'm ready for you. I'll take on both of y'all by myself because
John,
I've got that rebel
I did say
power.
Mac OS. John, I said Mac OS. You should hit rewind on your DVR. So, howdy toddy, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Blackwood, yeah. I had a brain surgery moment. Every now and then it happens. I just randomly forget words. It's absolutely crazy, and I probably shouldn't be on radio.
Or that makes it more fun for shows like this, especially when you're drinking your Land Sharks. So there you go. Cool. Well, yeah, we appreciate you guys in the chat. Like I said, tell your friends about it. Get everybody on board. I talk good about everybody, and I talk bad about everybody. I'm an equal opportunity. And of course, I'm brought to you by Windows 95, so we're good to go there. But
he's brought to you by Commodore 64.
And I asked Jeeves, and he delivers, right? So that's I love it. What's the one with the dog? Was that Lycos? No, what was the one with the dog?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Somebody help me out here.
I just remember Chat City from back in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you live on a gateway.
Yeah.
On a gateway laptop. It weighs more than this desk.
I get online with Prodigy, okay?
Netscape.
I just hope nobody picks up the phone line.
Look, listen to Cassidy trying to start something when we're trying to get off the air. Look at that.
Whoa,
Look at that.
Don't you MySpace. Yeah. You know what, John? You know what, Guy? You're in my
You could rank your friends in MySpace.
You're my top 8 guy.
That social media today should still be able to do. You should be able to rank your friends.
Yeah.
You guys would definitely be in my top 8.
Yeah.
Y'all would be in my top 7 because Tom's always in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Lyco, she's a dog. John's got us. John's got her back.
John, well done.
But anyway, tune in tomorrow night for a little rumble with the Tide Talk podcast guys to where we talk a little bit of Ole Miss and Alabama. We would have gotten together. We could have done Arkansas and Georgia as well, but Corey has like 17 podcasts. So
Yeah, I do. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, Corey would be number one. No, I would be number two because Tom's always number one.
yeah,
So it's okay, Jake. I love you. I still love you, though. I still love you.
right.
Tom always has the number one spot. Like he doesn't move from the number one spot. So that's okay. I'll take number two.
Yeah, Luke, I want it to end badly. That's the point. I want to see the train wreck.
Some people just like to see the world burn.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
No. There you go. I do it opposite. All right. That's it. SEC After Dark. We're out.